SK Vibemaker.
An influencer, inspired many MCs. One of the greatest catalogs when it comes to UK rap, man. Kano's in the building.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I feel like you deserve it, though. You deserve it.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot.
And I got to say, congratulations for the 6th album.
Yeah. That's the number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. We're
Number
here.
6.
We're here, man.
Was it like, did you always feel like you'd get to number 6?
Yeah. Yeah, always, to me it was always about a career, you know what I mean? Like longevity, like them kind of things. So yeah. I maybe thought I'll get to 6 sooner than this, you know what I mean? But
Are you imagined it being sooner?
Yeah, probably.
Straight.
You know what I mean? Because at the beginning it's like you do an album, then it's just you just got so much in you to say, you know what I mean? Then it's like, the album just dropped, but I want to do a mixtape, and then another album, then 2 mixtapes, and then another, you know what I mean? And then as time goes on, it's like you don't want to repeat yourself, you know what I mean? So it's like if you're gonna drop an album, you got to be coming with something new to say, something new production wise, you know what I mean? So yeah, that takes a while sometimes and a bit of living, because first album you got like 18 years goes into that of life, you know what I mean? Then it's like, to make another album in 6 months would be difficult. So you might need a couple years to just live and have some, you know what I mean, a new perspective, and then drop it. Yeah.
And very concise with a track listing as well. 10 tracks.
Yeah, that was something I've thought about a lot. To be fair, I've always wanted to do 10 tracks, but never got around to it, and maybe thought, is it enough? Especially when you're going away for a bit, am I giving people enough? But I looked at it as a challenge. I'm like, all right, if I'm going to have 10 tracks, I have to cover so much within that 10 tracks, and there's no room for like repeating yourself or 2 tracks that sound the same, or you know what I mean? You can't even waste a verse when you got 10 tracks. So my thing was, all right, 10 tracks, but I'm going to give you so much within that 10, you know what I mean?
So did you only record 10 tracks then? That's all you recorded? There was no like extra tracks and whittling it down to 10. It was 10 tracks specifically.
There's probably a couple that didn't get used, but it wasn't I'm not the artist that records, like I know Wretch would record like 100, you know what I mean? And then goes, like I can't do it like that. Yeah, so I never have like even 15 at the end, then try and get it down to 10. It's like tracks kind of fall off along the way, and I end up with the 10 that I'm happy with, if you know what I mean. So the ones that fell off along the way, there probably was about only like 3 of them or something like that.
Very concise. Hoodies all summer cause tears drop from the sky.
Yeah, man.
You said that on Teardrops. Just an explanation for the title of the 6th album as well. Hoodies all summer, because it's not your average, album title. So, give a bit more of a perspective on what you meant, like from that line.
Yeah, from that line, it was like, I said hoodies all summer in that line because, as I said, in Love and War, all is fair where I'm from. The weak won't last a week in shoes like our ones. When it rains, it pours. I feel like when it always rains on us. You know what I mean? We're always the community that's getting rained on. But we don't have to worry about that because we got hoodies all summer. We're protected from the rain. We're resilient people. We're going to come through. You know what I mean? So that's what it was for me, like a coat of armor. But aside from that, it's an attitude as well, and just a mentality.
Where are you with your balance? Because, on one hand, like, it's a difficult life that people like me and you suffer from our generation and, like, our heritage. But, like, from an outsider's perspective, they might be just like, he's just moaning, he's just moaning. Are you aware of, like, that thin line between, getting the message across, but you're not coming like it's moaning kind of thing?
Yeah, and I am, I'm aware of that. But for me, it's about, speaking about the struggles, especially from the generation before us. I talk about, let's talk about when the wind was rushed up on the shore, talking about the Windrush generation, you know what I mean, and what they had to deal with. No blacks, no Irish, and no dogs, you know what I mean. People of that generation would probably look at us and say, you know what I'm saying? But we're like, no, we appreciate the struggles you went through, you know what I mean? But we want to, we want to take this baton and continue to run. We don't want to be complacent. Like, they've accepted us now in this country. Like, you know what I mean? What are you moaning for? police don't just walk up to you and just beat you at any time they see you. All right, cool. Just because that's not happening doesn't mean a lot of other stuff isn't happening. You know what I mean? So it's never being complacent, you know, but we have to acknowledge the kind of the progression and the successes, you know. So it is about getting that balance, and I don't see it as Mona. I just see it as just documenting. You know what I mean? Just saying it how it is.
Blue May and Jodie Milner.
Yeah.
They handled the majority, all of the production on this album. I think there was a co-production as well on the album. All the 10 tracks. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? Tell me who they are. Where did they come from? How did you connect with them?
Yeah. So it's interesting because Blue is someone I met first. He came on board with me from 2007. So a lot of people don't know that the history that, you know, we have. So 2007 as a guitarist initially in the band, and then, you know, shortly followed by Jodie, who's a bass player. And, you know, young, was similar age. I think they're just a year younger than me. And like Blue came into the situation, and we had an MD of the band, but it was a bit too much for him. You know what I mean? It was like we was trying to do this and strings and whatever. And Blue was like kind of stepped forward and said, look, I think I can help, you know what I mean, pull this together. So anyway, he done that and quickly became like the MD of my band. So, you know, we toured and we worked together a lot on that kind of level. Then I went for a period of not making any music. Then when I started making an album again, Blue, his career had already evolved to being like a, you know, he's a mix engineer. Mixed a lot of albums and stuff. So when I had half of Made in the Manor and needed to like finish it off, I went to Blue. So me, Blue and Jodie sat down and basically finished off that album. We made My Sound as well, and we made Strangers, and they kind of tidied up the rest of the tracks and mixed the whole album. So that was the first time really working together in the studio. And then we toured Made in the Manor quite a lot, and obviously we all played together and whatever. So throughout that process of touring, we were just always talking about the next record and whatnot. So it was just natural to get in the studio with them for the next record. And it wasn't really the plan to not work with anyone else, but just because of how things were going, it was like, cool, let's just keep it like this, you know what I mean? So that's the, you know, the evolution of our relationship and the reason why the album's just with those two.
And they gave you a consistent sound.
Yeah, and I've never done that before, but I although the tunes sound so different, they sound so, you know,
a journey between them.
And I've always liked that, you know, from like other artists, and now I get, you know what I mean? You know, like you might have like I don't know, the Clips and Neptunes, like that was, you know, they had a synergy.
Yeah,
you know,
straight up.
You know what I mean? Like, or Jay-Z and Just Blaze from then, or Jay-Z and Timberlake, you know what I mean?
So you feel like this is going to continue as well?
Maybe, you know, we'll definitely continue to work, you know what I mean? But our relationship's strong, like even if it, you know, like we're putting together the show now and you know, I'm working with them on it, or even if it ain't music, you know what I mean? I just feel like those guys, they're just not afraid to push boundaries, and that's exactly what I want to do, you know what I mean? And whether that's in music or beyond music. So those are the people I want to work with, that are like-minded and just not scared of challenges.
The latest single, Pan Fried, off the album, features Kojo Funds, a very big song. You know what I'm saying? I have to really give you sort of, even though you got Kojo Funds on this, I've got to give you top props for sort of bucking trends. Like, you know, Kano might have came back and had like an Afro swingy album, you know what I'm saying? Or you might have had some drill tracks on the album.
I feel you.
There's none of that on the album, you know what I'm saying? Like there's elements, but there's not like, you haven't gone with the trends. Was that an easy resistance?
Yeah, for me it was, because it's like, plus I know that's see-through anyway. Like if I done that, you would be like, yeah, see what he's trying to do there, understand why, you know what I mean? It's kind of music by maths, you know what I mean? And my thing isn't music by maths, it's music by like just feeling and emotion and what I like and what I want to get across. Plus, I kind of make records in a vacuum anyway. I don't really listen to what's going on necessarily, don't turn the radio on, to be fair, and don't, you know what I mean? It's just kind of, I just make what I make, you know, because when you kind of try and follow trends, sometimes people do it perfectly and they catch every trend right, and then next year they're on the next thing, and it's like, that's a skill in itself, you know what I mean? It's just not my skill. But if your album slips by a year and you drop it, it's dated now. You know what I mean? I like to make albums where it could come out next year and it would still sound fresh. You know what I mean?
What it seems about you as well, like you just described there, that you make your music in a vacuum. You know, the last album came out March 2016. You toured the album. When it doesn't come to music duties, you are very stealth. You don't see Kano just about. You don't see him at like award shows much. Like, I mean, are you pretty aware that people see you with stealth? Like, you are quite a low-key character?
Yeah. People tell me that now, and I'm like, oh, is that how you see it? Because I'm not, it's like I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm just like, I don't know, it's just like, I don't have to be there unless I have to be there, you know? I'm just not trying to turn up everywhere and whatever, or be online or just do something to have people talking about me, or I haven't got a song out myself, so let's just feature on other tunes just to keep my name bubbling and whatever. And I understand all those things. And I think there's a confidence in not doing that. You know what I mean? Although it can get to a point where it's like a bit, are people still there? Will they care? You know what I mean? And I feel like it was a bit like that before Made in the Manor. Like, I didn't know if people was gonna want this new album from me or whatever, because I had been still for so long. You know, so I guess it does get worrying, but I think Made in the Manor proved to me that it's just about music, and if the music's good enough, people will be there. You know what I mean? And if it ain't, then it just won't.
People talk about, you know, the debut album is what it is. Then you do it a second time, and there's a lot of pressure to deliver a second time if you've had like a stellar first album. And then, you know, you get to the third album, the fourth album. You just described what it was like when you was dropping your fifth album. Was the fifth album, Made in the Manor, the biggest challenge of coming back of all of your albums so far?
Yeah, I think it was. It definitely was. Yeah, the biggest challenge, and one of the most rewarding as well. You know what I mean? But you know, the life of an artist is like, all right, now you do that, now you got to do it again. You know what I mean? And what I've heard from a lot of people, I've been doing some in-store signings and whatever, and just general things. Like, a lot of people have said, well, two things I've been hearing is, I didn't think you could do better than Made in the Manor, and you have. They think this album is better. I know it's early days. And then I've heard people say, look, I haven't listened to the album yet, and it's going to be really tough to beat Made in the Manor. And I don't know if it's going to be that, but I'll let you know when I hear it. You know what I mean? So it's always a comparison to your work. And I feel like that happened to me earlier on in my career as well. It's like Home Sweet Home. Like, is it better than Home Sweet Home, or is this song as good as whatever? You know what I mean? It's always a, you know, battle against yourself that artists are not having, but it's just what the outside world kind of has, and it's hard to not kind of get roped up in it sometimes.
So with those different challenges between albums, you know what I mean, reaching your sixth album, what was the biggest challenge then this time round? Because you've achieved so much as well.
Yeah, I think the challenging thing initially, until I kind of unlocked that door, was what to say. Because on the last album, I felt like maybe I said it all, you know what I mean? And revealed so much of myself. But I realized that I said it all about me, you know, at that moment. And I realized maybe this ain't about me. It's about we, you know what I mean? It's about us. It's about what's going on. And once I, you know, turned that kind of lens around, it was like, there was so much things to talk about, you know what I mean? So that was the challenging thing at the start, but that was maybe like a year, you know, of being a bit stuck.
Now, the intro off the album, 3 years later, off Hoodies All Summer, of course. I mean, this is like what you just said, maybe your favorite intro of all of your albums. Why do you feel like that?
I just feel like it just says it all, man. It just says it all. Then it's got that switch in the second verse. It just sets it up perfectly, you know what I mean? And the way it's delivered as well is like very conversational. And as an artist, especially a rapper. I don't know how other singers feel and whatever, but I don't know. Our intros are always important. You know what I mean? It always sets the tone, and yeah, it's like I feel like I have best songs from other like rappers and that, and then I'll have like best intros. You know what I mean? Like Nas is on Stillmatic is one of my favorite intros ever. Everyone talks about this, the Meek Mills one and whatnot. You know what I mean?
I think the Meek one wins. You know,
Yeah,
like, aside from yours, obviously. You know what I'm saying? The Meek one for me wins.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. That's like a real important, you know, song. But anyway, I just feel like you know what? The Home Sweet Home one came on the other day in the car, and I was with Richard, and he was like, he was getting mad about it. You know what I mean? So that's another one that's close, but I just think this does it for me, like the strings as well. Yeah, just love it.
A powerful line you had on there for me. You said, "Forget a nomination, I just go for the suit." I mean, who needs nominations, right? But the maddest thing is, I was actually looking into it, and I realized this is crazy. Like, again, I don't put much power in like nominations and awards, but I feel like you definitely haven't like won the awards you deserve to win. And I feel like that was a nod to it. It's something that you think about. Is it something you care about much?
No, it's one of them ones where you don't give a fuck about winning them things. I don't know if I can swear. It's one of them things. It's one of them things where you don't care about winning them things. But once you're involved in the conversation, you don't want to lose it. You know, if I'm honest, you know what I mean? So it's nothing I think about while making music or even after releasing. Sometimes it's things we laugh about. Like, 'cause sometimes it's like, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, we know what it is. The person that won probably knows what it is. And it just is what it is. So it's like, you can't get too wrapped up in those things. You know what I mean? They're just an opinion. But you can't just say that when you lose. If you win as well, you can't let that go to your head, because you can't get too wrapped up in those things, because it's just someone's opinion as well. It goes both ways. You know what I mean? But I feel like the real award is when I'm seeing people and they tell me what the album means to them and how this song, you know, changed their life, or, you know, their, you know, dad was ill when they went to the hospital and was playing them sometimes. You know what I mean? Things like that, just songs that I've had over my career, and that's the win, innit? Like, that is what it is, and you can't ever lose sight of that.
I can't actually believe that it's been 14 years since Home Sweet Home. And you know what? It puts a lot of things into perspective for me, because I tell this story often on a fan thing, and I don't know if you remember this, but I first met you in Jammer's kitchen. Yeah, this was way,
not even
way,
basement,
no,
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. We were sitting in the kitchen waiting to go in the basement. This is just like a long time ago, man. And I remember, like, I asked you, because you were just sitting there, and I asked you, like, what's your name? Because I was a fan of your music, but I just didn't know what you looked like, because this is a whole different era. You know what I'm saying? You didn't really know what people look like them times.
People, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then thinking about the album that was to come afterwards, and like such a classic album. There's only a few UK rap albums that I mentioned in the same sentence as that album. Like, you know, when you listen back to that album now, how do you feel? Like, do you listen back to it with more criticism than like plaudits? Because, you know, you must have improved, like, personally, how you feel so much since then.
Yeah, you're right. And the first answer is, I don't listen back to any stuff, but I was forced to listen back to that album after 10 years, because I'd done an anniversary show, and I listened to the whole album, and I was like, it was mad, because I had to learn the lyrics again. And there were certain times I was, like I said, one song a day I was going to learn. So this whole day I'll play one song, then the next day, the next. And it's like I'm listening, I don't know what line's coming next. I'm like a proper fan, you know what I mean? But
of your own music.
Yeah, but it made me appreciate the album, because for that 10 years, I'm like, I'm moving forward. I don't look back and listen to whatever. But it made me appreciate the album. Obviously, the perfectionist in me would be like, oh, I would change that and there. And that's not, but that's just time, and it, you know, moves on, and technology moves on, and whatever. But yeah, those times were so beautiful, because we didn't know. We know what we were doing, but it wasn't like we were doing it for this moment. We were just in the moment. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all of those kind of classic, memorable things that people, whatever, we were just like, that was just another day in our life. We didn't think it was special. You know what I mean? But to look back on it is like, wow, like those days at Jammers and that, You know what I mean? But yeah, man, historical things, but we move on.
If you ain't listened to that album, man, because you know what, I find it quite remarkable. Some people say they're a fan of UK music and they haven't listened to that album. Listen to that album today and thank me later. It's as easy as that, innit? Can't Hold Me Down, featuring Popcorn. That adds to your list of like some illustrious dancehall artists that you've collaborated with as well, man.
Yeah.
You've obviously done Idonia and you've done Vibes Cartel as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, I don't know, am I missing anyone?
I've done a little something with Elephant Man. And I've actually done something with Beanie Man that never came out.
Straight. You know? Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. What, little B-sides album coming out maybe one day?
Maybe one day. Maybe lost tapes.
I mean, do you have like sort of like lost songs like that you would want to put out one day?
I mean, it would be kind of, I don't know. If people could hear those things one day, I'm sure it would be like, you know, a nice kind of little nugget and a discovery. But for me to release it, I don't know. Because I would be like, it's old.
Richard leaked that stuff,
man. Yeah. It's like, I wouldn't flow like that now.
Straight up, course.
Or whatever. But dancehall's like, that's my music, and I'm, you know, big fan of obviously that genre. But, you know, working with like the Cartels and the Idonia, these are people that I feel like that they can complement my style. You know what I mean? And the intricacy of their lyrics, like I respect. Like, especially like Popcorn, to me, he's a great artist and he does it all. And he's very versatile. He's probably the best now. But like Cartel and Idonia
as lyricists.
Yeah, I put them up. Like people like they say Jay-Z and the Nas and then whatever, and then it's separate. Who your UK favorite? You know what I mean? Like Wretch can't rap with. No, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Or like we can't, whatever. And it's like, your dancehall favorite. And I'm like, nah, them man are lyrically as good as them man. I don't see it no other way.
On Can't Hold Me Down, when I heard the K-Put sample at the beginning, that sent chills down my spine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad because it cost me.
Mate, yeah. To all the train spotters that recognise that as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. You know
It'd be nice to maybe get K-Put on the remix, maybe. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be. That would be sweet, man.
What I wanted to ask you, this is a bit of a nerdy question, but what comes to mind today when you think of one of your favourite tracks to date that you've recorded?
One of my favorite tunes today. I like Sometimes. One of my favorite songs
off the debut album.
But then, like,
what was it about that song?
I don't know. I just think that was just truth. Like that was me to a T. Then that captured exactly who I was. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love that song. But you know, I love my sound. I love Strangers. I love obviously this album aside. Like I don't like tunes for different.
People mention
like
Layer Cake as well.
Wheel Ups. Layer Cake's another one. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a few.
Teardrops, one of my favourite songs off the album as well. Another one. There's a lot of favourite songs, you know what I'm saying? There was some powerful commentary on that song as well. We complained to the police about the police and nothing's been done. Now it's time to get something done ourselves. I mean, who was that talking?
Yeah, that, you know, I don't know the exact name, but it's obviously I had Darkest How on a sample of Trouble, part of the Mangrove 9, but that's a part of the same crew. You know what I mean? Part of the same crew, and I just feel like when you come across, I don't know, it's partly it's sad because sometimes you hear something said so long ago and it has so much relevance today. It's interesting, but then it's like, right, how have things changed from then, and what would this still make sense in 30 years time? You know what I mean? It's just always gonna be our battle. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just thought, you know, it'll be nice to include kind of some voices of yesterday that are so relevant today. You know what I mean? But Teardrops to me is one of my favorite songs on the album as well. Like, yeah.
Topboy Season 3.
Yes, man.
Oh yeah, Drake at the helm. A lot of people are looking forward to, you know, seeing this, watching it. Did you have a lot of fun? You know, taking part in this new season?
Nope.
You didn't, no?
Nah.
Why, was it grueling, like the work schedule or something?
Yeah, it's like do you know
Very
what?
challenging.
Challenging's good. Like I'm always up for the challenge. It's like it's not fun for me.
That's surprising for me to hear you say this, man. Yeah.
But and you know what? I don't even really like the industry of acting.
Okay.
And whatever.
It's very different to music, man.
Yeah, I don't even love the music one. But I mean, but I respect the craft of acting. You know what I mean? So I'm there for the challenge, and I feel like this time with 10 episodes, we got to explore everyone's character more, especially mine. So we get to dig even deeper. And I was really conscious this time because it was like I just don't want my character just because on as a whole, I feel Topboy is quite balanced and really tells a it's got quite an overview of like London and street culture, but everyone's individual stories, you know what I mean? And it's quite balanced. But my character was the one that brought the violence and just, and you know what I mean? So this time I was like, nah, especially with 10 episodes, I want you to be able to like understand why he is how he is and how he feels after the things he does, and you know, and that connection with his daughter, and you know, that kind of longing for family but still like on the roads, and you know, and dealing with, you know, the consequences and things like that, you know what I mean? It can't just be like you're doing stuff and then nothing happens to you. Like life don't work like that. So I wanted to show a more rounded human being and like pull back the layers, which I got to do this time. So that was challenging and I loved every minute of that, you know what I mean? But it's the other stuff that I don't really like.
It's not easy to be versatile as a musician, actor, man, and you pull it off very well. You look very comfortable on the screen. Do you have the acting bug?
The bug? Yeah, do you know what? I would maybe one day I might direct or something.
For real?
Like that. Yeah.
Oh, you don't see yourself with a long life in acting, no?
I mean, I could do. Hopefully, I'll come across another project that I believe in and want to do, and I think that would probably make me act again, or a role that I hate, but it's like £10 million, and that would probably make me want to act again.
Yeah, of course. Money talks, man.
But hopefully I'll come across a role where I want to do it, and then I'll do that, you know what I mean? But I think as a musician with so much control in your creative, jumping into a world where you have less of that, yeah, you get to have your say and put your spin on it, but you have less control. I think the only way to gain that is to maybe write your own thing or direct your own thing, you know? And our stories, you know, I look at artists like, you know, whether it's not just myself or Rich or Dave or, you know, people, they tell these, you know, interesting stories through their music. I don't think that has to just stay within music. I think these people can write books and these people can make films. And I think that's kind of going to be the future and an extension of our creativity.
With Drake at the helm for season 3, did you manage to chop it up and conversate much? Is there any chances of music or anything like that?
We spoke beforehand, but you know, we spoke about Topboy. I haven't spoke about music, but apart from, you know, he's aware of, you know, my thing, and we exchanged words on that, and that was cool. But yeah, he's not really involved on a day-to-day basis on Topboy, but I think he was quite important in getting the deal with Netflix, you know what I mean? And just a general fan of the show and just wants to see it succeed and do well, and obviously wanted it to come back, and now we're here, so yeah, props to him as well.
I think I've lost count. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, man, but I'm honoured the fact that I feel like this is interview number 7 or 8. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. Is there anyone out there that can beat me for that record, you
Probably
reckon?
not, to be fair.
I'm winning, man. I'm winning. Congratulations on the new album, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much.
SK Vibemaker.